Hey, this is Mr. Cape Canaveral, aka Get Me a Beer Dude. This is Vicky. This is Per Benjamin, saying hi from Kodiak, Alaska. And this is Viewer Takeover.
This is Viewer Takeover. We film every Monday night. We're bringing it to YouTube almost every Tuesday, sometime during the day. My name's Brian Paul from this channel right here, PSVR Without Parole, and the guys to my right, the boys, Dave from Dave Station but VR.
Hello, hello, hello. Big week this week. Guys, strap in. It's going to be wild.
Strap in, strap on for AJ from the Underground, PSVR Underground.
Man, big week.
Strap on for AJ.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what to say. It's going to be a big week indeed, man. We've got Minecraft, which you guys are probably playing right now as we speak, or very soon.
No Man's Sky. Oh, no, it is tomorrow. I'm sorry. We're in the future. We're coming to you.
I love being in the future. The future is so cool. There's flying cars and there's VR. Oh my God. Okay.
By this time, I would have beaten Operencia, and I'll be very happy after 30 hours. Minecraft or No Man's Sky Origins tomorrow. Budget cuts later. Swordsman, O-Shape, Until You Fall. It's crazy, man. It's crazy out here.
Oh my God.
Strap on for O-Shape, AJ. First thing we want to do here on Viewer Takeover is shout out a ton of people. And the first person we want to shout out from the future is that dude way, way, way in the past, like 3 years ago, Mr. GameCat Canaveral, because that's how old that intro is. Amazing. I have Viewer Takeover intros from over 3 years ago, and we ran out. So it was time to go into the archive and say hi to Mr. GameCat Canaveral, Vicky, and Per Benjamin. They're all grown up now.
That's crazy.
I remember when she was just yay tall. You know, and now look at her now.
Tiny little Per Benjamin. Oh, how cute he was. Oh,
She's probably got like a college degree in like astrophysics by now.
In 3 years. That girl's smart, man. She's Doogie Howser.
It's an impressive family.
If you want to introduce next week's show, you can either send your old Viewer Takeover introduction to withoutparole@gmail.com or film a brand new one. We want to just see who you are and say this is Viewer Takeover. Keep it nice, short, sweet, simple, southern, if possible. We also want to thank these people down here, the people who went to patreon.com/withoutparole. And they're the ones giving us $1 or more every single month because they love us almost as much as we love you. And we thank you very, very much for it. But who else do we want to thank? AJ.
Brian, Dave, Game Cats. We would like to thank those that choose another way of supporting us by changing their name on YouTube, aka Google, whatever. It's probably bought by probably being bought by Microsoft tomorrow. Yeah. And change your name to something GameCat, something GameCat related, something GameCat adjacent, as you and something GameCat adjacent like to say. And this week we have 3 new GameCats to welcome to the GameCat Dojo. Starting with PS5 #GameCat pricing hype, motherfuckers.
Wow, that's like. He's coming in strong. He kicked the door open with that name. That's like a Kool-Aid guy name.
So it's obviously hotcakes, and he left a note. He said it was either this or HJ, the PSVR #GameCat PSN hotcakes.
Excellent.
Yeah. I like this one. It's in the spirit of things going on right now. Pre-order's been going on for a week. Hopefully you've been able to snag one, or hopefully you snag one soon. But that is awesome, man. So hyped for PS5. We've also got Matthew the GameCat. Is that right? Or is it just Re? Is it Re or is it Re?
Usually when I see a Re online, there's a lot more E's than that, but I don't know.
Way more.
Maybe that's just his last name, Re.
Maybe Matthew doesn't know how many E's he can put in his name. Look at the long PSN names we've got here.
Yeah.
And
finally, we've got Romero the GameCat.
Excellent. Just in time for Halloween, too, we got George Romero himself. Is a GameCat.
I tried to do my best trailer voice guy impression.
So just a little note about Romero, the GameCat. He said he wants to take advantage of the sale, but he has a crazy neighbor walking around with knives breaking into houses in his neighborhood. So he's like trying to save up money so he can move. I was like, holy crap! I think we need to start a GoFundMe for Romero because it's like some dangerous shit out there. Yeah. So thank you guys so much for changing your name to GameCat, and make sure that if you change your name to GameCat, put #GameCat somewhere in the comments so we can give you a shout out, just like we gave Hotcakes Matthew and Romero a shout out this week, but we'll do it next week. Yeah. Dave, what do we really do here on the show?
Well, we collect some questions from all over the internet, but mostly from YouTube and or Discord. So if you leave a comment anywhere on a YouTube video on Without Parole with a hashtag #ViewerTakeover, it will be found and it will be reviewed and it'll probably end up on the show. And we also on our Discord have a whole channel for it. If you're not on the Discord, it's in the description below. Right there, click on it. You're welcome. Everybody's welcome. We've got 3 questions this week, and the first one is very topical. This is like just happened today. Big news. It comes from XPacerX in the Discord. He says, #ViewerTakeover. With Microsoft buying ZeniMax, what do you think the VR landscape looks like for Bethesda games? Will they continue to push forward in the VR space? Now, you know, ZeniMax Bethesda is Skyrim, Fallout, all these big franchises that you guys know that already have VR incarnations. So what do you guys think this means?
Man, they bought everything. They bought ID or id. They bought
Wait,
Obsidian.
they bought id? They also bought, oh, I guess they're part of,
Obsidian.
Tango Gameworks.
Exile.
Damn.
Yeah, Evil
Brian, what you think?
I'm just mad because Evil Within was just dying for a VR version. I mean, it's not the greatest horror game ever made, but I mean, first things first, right? I mean, obviously, I think Microsoft's not really about exclusives this generation, or maybe even last generation. I think they're super focused on Game Pass, and getting more games into Game Pass day one makes their platform look way more attractive. And obviously, you can get Game Pass on PCs and your Xbox. What else can you get it on? It's like everything, isn't it?
I think they're adding Android stuff now, like a streaming option, kind of. Yeah.
Right. So I don't think it's like really in their best interest to say, oh, those games are ours now. I just think it looks better for them to say, that's part of our service that you're already paying $15 a month for. Whereas on PlayStation, you might have to buy it for $70. And I think they're going to make money on both sides of this deal, I think.
They definitely are. And, you know, I think when it comes to the big games like Elder Scrolls and Starfield, I think it was called.
Starfield, yeah.
I think those will be multi-platform, but, you know, probably the smaller titles will end up being like exclusives. But everything has basically been turned on its head. But Dave, how does this affect VR in the future, you think?
Well, this is a curious one for me because, you know, this is a company that's one of the very few big name, kind of big budget, people out there who's put effort into VR. And, you know, they've created a whole new game in Doom VFR, even though it's based on a franchise, it's from the ground up, a straight up brand new VR game. And then, you know, they've got these ports that people love, like Skyrim is one of the biggest games on PSVR and remains that, you know, years after its release. So they've already, you know, definitely dipped their toes in the water, and I don't expect them to stop doing that anytime soon. What I'm curious about is if Microsoft will eventually get on board and say, hey, you know what? Our system pretty much does support VR, because like their Windows mixed reality headsets are pretty much plug and play, mix and match. You can put anything, hook it into a computer, and it all pretty much runs the same, just different levels of quality and the lenses and stuff. And if Microsoft got there where they said, hey guys, any headset in our line of Windows mixed reality headsets, you can plug in with a USB to your Xbox and it just works. That would be a huge market position, because it says you don't have to be locked into one price point or one headset. You know, on this console, you could get a really low end one if you're, you know, just buying a $150 one from Walmart, entry level stuff, or you get like $1,000 headset and they all just plug into the same thing. So if they ever land in that spot when they do adopt VR, I think that could be really huge for their market position and actually make them, you know, a player in the VR space. But of course, we know they haven't said anything about being interested in it. So, I mean, this could be an indication that they are, because they bought a company who's done a ton of VR stuff. Or not. It might not mean anything at all as far as that goes. We'll see. Game Pass is a big thing, like Brian said. So it's probably more of the motivating factor than VR, I would say.
I have one worry here.
Yes.
A couple. I have two or three worries, actually. You know, I fully expect them to go forward with like I said, Elder Scrolls and some of their bigger titles, being flat and being
cross-platform,
multi-platform, whatever you want to call it. But when it comes to VR itself, I have definitely some big concerns about Bethesda and their PC VR and PSVR games in particular, and the availability of that happening. I feel like Sony would have to make some kind of deal with them, and I don't know if that's gonna really happen. But the truth is, man, after Skyrim and Doom, we haven't really gotten a whole lot from Bethesda, unless I'm mistaken. Those were pretty good ports, but they were, in terms of like their built from the ground up like VR-ness, it was a little bit lacking. So I don't know. I secretly hope that, first of all, this is a great move for Xbox, but I secretly hope that if they don't continue to do VR and spreading it to PC and PSVR, then I hope their games suck.
Oh God.
Okay.
I didn't know where that was going. I guess
that was a big exclamation point on the end there.
Right. It's a long road to take.
Yeah.
I will say that, Microsoft owns Mojang, right? And today we got the Minecraft PSVR patch. Like, there's no, real reason that Microsoft had to do that, to say that, oh yeah, this is something we want to allow. It doesn't benefit Xbox at all to have a PSVR patch. In fact, it makes it more attractive to play Minecraft on PlayStation for this huge reason that Xbox can't even compete with right now. I kind of hope that everything goes the way that Dave says, and Microsoft adopts VR. And I think with the power of these upcoming consoles, it's going to be way easier for Lloyd to flip that switch. And so it's not going to be this huge financial investment to say, hey, here's the next Skyrim game, or here's Starfield, or here's whatever, Fallout 5 in VR. The other side of that is, like, they could make a ton of money doing it, right? If VR does start taking off, then they're set. So far they've sold Fallout 4 VR as a separate game. They've sold Skyrim VR as a separate game. Doom VFR is not Doom Eternal or Doom 2016. These are separate purchases, so they could make a shit ton of money by selling these as separate games, even if they're not able to be bought on on Xbox, and even if they don't adopt the VR strategy. So I don't really see Microsoft backing off and being like, no, we got to make sure that Xbox is the place to play these games.
I'll be honest with you. In my mind, I'm already like, okay, these are gone. These are dead to me forever. and I'm gonna have to wait for Sony's first party to either deliver a similar kind of game or experience, like how their Legend of Dragoon was their like Sony Final Fantasy VII game. I'm kind of, in my mind, am already planning for that. Gran Turismo 7, even some third party like Resident Evil 8, hopefully. But that's going to be, to me, that would be the ultimate answer, is for Sony to come out with their own new IPs in something similar to these, if there is some kind of availability problem for them coming to Sony.
I think that about covers it. I think really we're just going to be a waiting game and see what happens. Fingers crossed for the best. Shout out to Screaming Void, who also asked this very same question on Twitter. We actually got a lot of questions very, very similar about this today. This is obviously the hot topic of the day. Next question comes to us from Jay Meow on Discord. He says, #viewer takeover with Squadrons in Minecraft coming out soon, plus many having spent $500 on PlayStation 5s already. Do you think that Swordsman, Until You Fall, Budget Cuts, and even Onslaught, which would have been the biggest game coming out in any other month, are going to get overlooked or sell much less than they usually would? I hope this isn't the case, because all of them look really fun. What do you think, guys?
I think just realistically, people have limited amounts of cash. And so, yes, some of these games are going to get shelved or put on people's back burner. Like, there are going to be one or two that people will say, okay, these are my most, I'm most excited about these ones. And even though I like the idea of budget cuts, maybe I'll wait a couple months, or maybe I'll wait for a sale or something like that. I think a lot of these games will end up in that kind of bucket where it's like, I'll wait for a sale. And looking at the titles here, they will all go on sale, I guarantee you. Until You Fall, Swordsman, Budget Cuts, Onslaught. Survios games actually do go on sale pretty often. So yes, inevitably some games won't sell as much just because they're wedged in with everything else. I think that's it's kind of inevitable and unfortunate, but it's exciting to have so many games in a week.
It is nice for a change.
Obviously, Squadrons Minecraft are a pretty big deal because they're a well-known IP. And yes, people are limited on cash. It was actually over $500 if you bought the disc version once you factor in all the other
it's
stuff.
like 540 for me, I think. Yeah.
That being said, there could be people out there that are like, these aren't really my thing. I don't like Star Wars. I don't like Minecraft. I don't like Walking Dead. There's kind of something for everybody here, which is nice. So, you know, that's obviously going to be the very, very small minority of people like that. But, you know, this could also, with all this attention on these games right now, this could be getting people new headsets and stuff, bringing in new headsets, bringing in all this new stuff. And if it hurts them at first, it certainly will benefit them later on, because of all these new people buying headsets. There's just more. This is easily building a player base, higher player count for PSVR.
You know, I think it's less about the PlayStation 5 itself, and more about the PlayStation VR games cannibalizing each other, because it's obviously a tough time financially for everybody. But man, even if there was no PS5 pre-order quite yet, getting these games out 1 week at a time, just saying, hey, Minecraft this week, Until You Fall the week after, Walking Dead the week after that, it's giving us one game, giving us a little time between each one. Instead, somehow these all get clumped together like 7, 8, 9 games in the course of 2.5 weeks is absolutely insane. And I do think games that don't have the brand appeal, like Star Wars and Walking Dead, are definitely going to get overlooked. Swordsman, Until You Fall, budget cuts. I really think that sales on these are going to suffer pretty bad. The one thing I will say is that when I interviewed Linnea Harrison from Neat Corporation, who makes budget cuts, I asked her this very same question and said, "This is a horrible time to release a game. What are you doing?" And she said, "We're not worried. You know, we just want to get it out there so it's available for PlayStation VR gamers." And I think they are very much looking at the long, the tail of this, and it's going to have a very long tail. And as it goes on sale, and you know, eventually people are picking up new PSVR headsets over the next year, this is going to be a game that people will go, "Oh yeah, I've heard of this. This is really popular on PC." And so I think they're more concerned about the future and not launch day.
Yeah.
There was games like Catch and Release that came out the same day as Firewall, and Catch and Release took a long time, but it eventually did make its money back and start turning a profit. So that was good. But I feel like, you know, something like Until You Fall and budget cuts, they're very like specific, and they're very niche. And I feel like those are possibly ones we're going to see maybe get more attention later on, especially when they're on sale and people be like, "Oh my God, this is amazing. How come I never played this?" Or "How come nobody's talking about this?" Right. But, you know, even Swordsman, I actually have a kind of good feeling about, because people want that blade and sorcery thing. For me, about when it comes to people choosing these, it's not so much as overshadowing each other. I mean, that is part of it for sure. But it's more a case of the appeal. Like who does this appeal to? Who's interested in this? And it seems like Swordsman has a lot of interest in it right now.
Yeah, I think games, people who aren't buying a PlayStation 5 are in a totally different situation as well. Like, people are like, you know what? I love my PlayStation 4 Pro. I only bought it a year or 2 years or 3 years ago, whatever. And I want to get as much life out of it as possible. And so they're like, you know, all that money I'm not spending on PlayStation 5 means I can spend a little bit of extra money on games. So I think people are in a lot of different situations right now. And
yeah, I mean, if you're holding off on buying a PS5, like just buying all the PSVR games that are coming out in the next 2 weeks, you'd spend easily half of what it would cost to buy a digital PS4. Right. PS5, I'm sorry, yeah.
Not a bad strategy in my book. It's like, man, it's all about the games. Who needs new hardware when we get so many great games coming?
Oh, he forgot O-Shape. He didn't even put O-Shape on this list.
Yeah.
See? It's already happening.
Jesus.
All right. AJ, last questions from...
This one comes from Laughing Anarchist from the Discord. Says hashtag viewer takeover like a pro. With Facebook announcing an Oculus Quest 2 a mere 16 months after the release of the first Quest, do you guys think Sony, with its 7-year console cycles, will even be able to keep up with given the speed that VR hardware is progressing right now? Should they adopt a different strategy for VR? And if so, Any suggestions?
I mean, I think we've been through this a few times, right? The console strategy is really simple. You end up using your console that you bought 5, 6, 7 years ago, way, way, way past its prime, like long after if it was a PC that you should have updated it. And so, but it keeps doing, like, that's what the great thing about consoles is developers find great ways to really get the most out of it for as long as possible. And most of the greatest moments on any console generation comes within the last year or two, like the sunsetting phase, as they say. And I don't think VR is any different. I think that here we are, and our headset is coming up on 4 years old. And I don't really feel like it's hugely outdated. I don't mind using it for another year or two if it means that the next leap in quality is going to be monumental, just like the console strategy, console generations, whatever you want to call it. So I don't think it's a big deal. I think this is what console gamers want.
Yeah, I think it seems to me like Facebook is taking like an iPhone strategy here. You know, like they're going to come out with a new version that's slightly upgraded. Once every, year, 16 months, something like that, you'll get a new version of the Quest. And it'll get some people on board with buying a new one every time, like people do with iPhones. But at the same time, like if you skip a few generations between an iPhone 7 and an iPhone 9, like you haven't lost a whole lot of the core functionality. And most stuff works on both. You know what I mean? So I think that's what we see with the Quest 2. It's not a huge leap forward, but it's cheaper. It's a little lighter. They've redesigned some things to make it a little better in some ways, up the resolution a little bit. But it's at the end of the day, it's not like it went from being a Quest to being a PSVR. Like it's still a Quest, just a little bit amped up. And I think that that's what we'll see, just these sort of incremental releases where every year or two you get a new Quest with a little bit better hardware, a little bit better stuff than you saw before. Way different than the console strategy like Brian was talking about. So, and I mean, for Facebook, that'll probably make them tons of cash, I'm sure. But for consumers, it's not great, I don't think.
It's not like an upgrade to the first Quest. And, when PSVR 2 inevitably comes out, it's going to be a big upgrade. And I've said it 1,000 times before, that I would rather wait just a little bit longer, just hold out. I'm not like some compulsive, I got to buy everything brand new all the time and have the latest and greatest thing until it's like kind of proven itself or until it's ready. And I've said 1,000 times before that I would rather wait a little longer for PSVR 2 if it's something that can last 7 years with my PS5. Now, I don't want to be, I do think it's where I'm ready for it. Like I wouldn't want to wait like years and years for it. But, like I said, I'm hoping for end of 2021 to maybe get like a new PSVR 2. I mean, it's been 4 or 5 years. And, there's a lot of stuff that can be updated by that time. And I'm just hoping to see that. And yeah, I want something that lasts 7 years. So I don't know if they should adopt a different strategy because they're not primarily selling VRs. They're primarily selling PlayStations. And they're doing that right now. So I think they need to get the PlayStation 5 out first, get all the games for it, and then regroup. And around the holidays, after the PS5 is released, around the holidays, December, January, start talking about maybe start gearing up for a second VR headset.
Yeah, and one thing to keep in mind here too, like a wired headset is just fundamentally different than a wireless headset here because you don't have to upgrade your display every few years if the processing is done elsewhere. Like the reason they're getting people new Quests is not because they said this screen isn't good enough, I need a better screen with higher resolution. It already had the highest resolution out of, a lot of headsets out there, not, the Index or whatever, but I think that say you bought a 4K HDR TV right when your PS5 got there. That TV is a display that will continue to function just as it does throughout the entire console generation. Nothing will come out of the hardware that goes above HDR or above 4K in any really meaningful way. You know what I mean? Within this console generation. And same with the headset. If it hits a resolution that's a good resolution and the screen's good and the tracking's good, why do I need a new one in 3 years? It works the same as my TV that still works that does 4K. just like it did 3 years ago. So I think the need isn't there as much to upgrade all the time.
Yeah, I would much rather do what we're doing right now. I spent $400 on the PlayStation VR headset 4 years ago. And when PSVR 2 finally rolls around, AJ said, I don't want to wait forever. And I totally agree with that statement. I said I can wait, but I don't really mean that. I don't want to wait much longer. I'm ready for it now, next year, soon, please. But it was 4 years. And by the time the next one rolls out, it'll have been 5 years. And I don't mind, even if they, it's cutting edge and top of the line. I have to spend $500 on it. Still better than 16 months ago buying my Quest for $400 and then buying a new Quest 2 for $300. It's still... I mean, that's such a small span of time to be focusing on upgrades, and I think that's such a PC mentality to have, to be like, oh, here's the newest, latest, greatest thing, and I'm gonna trade in the thing that just feels a little slightly outdated for the thing that just came out that's slightly better than the thing I just had, and I'm not into that, man. I love being a console gamer for that exact reason.
Yeah. I would definitely want like a big upgrade.
Yeah. Absolutely, because I want it to last for the next 5 years when I finally get it. Charge me $500, charge me $600, as long as it's worth it and it can stand the test of time.
But it is worth mentioning here, as we wrap up this particular point, you said it's been 4 years, it's going to be 5 years by the time it comes out. And some other headsets have had different leaps forward technologically or whatever. But I think the PSVR is still the best at something. Like ease of use, I mean, PC VR is just kind of a pain in the ass. Optimizing for all different graphics cards, all different RAM, all different motherboard. Like, it gets into this thing where sometimes your games just don't work. And with a PlayStation, it always works. And then comfort, by far, they came out with the most comfortable headset to wear for a long period of time. And it will remain that way even as Quest keeps releasing new Quests. It's still going to be the most comfortable headset on the market. So if they can kind of, with PSVR 2, lay down the gauntlet and do something that other companies can't even improve on, because it's not like, that's not a screen resolution. That's not a microchip. That's just a design decision that worked out really goddamn well for them. And so if they can keep making those kind of solid decisions, it will last the test of time, I think.
And just to add on to that, they keep releasing awesome exclusives for PSVR.
I was going to say, it's got the games. It just needs the hardware to catch up a little bit, but the games are 110% there.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Which kind of brings us to the end of another episode of Viewer Takeover. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Thank you to everybody who asked those questions. Make sure you ask your questions. If you don't like the questions we answered, then Goof's fault is that. It's your fault for not asking better questions. Leave them in our Discord under the Viewer Takeover channel, or in the comments below any of our videos with the hashtag Viewer Takeover, all one word. We'll find it, and if you're very, very unfortunate, we'll talk about your question and maybe even point and laugh a little bit at you next week. Make sure you send us your Viewer Takeover introduction, withoutparole@gmail.com. Support us on Patreon, patreon.com/withoutparole.
Games!
Oh, man. And what else? I don't know. That's probably it. That's probably it. Go subscribe to Dave at Dave Station VR. Subscribe to AJ at PSVR Underground. And let's get the heck out of here. My name is Brian Paul. This is Viewer Takeover, and we're out. All right. Are we ready?
AJ?
Yes.
Oh.